What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 16 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, joined, of course, by Fishstix and Shayed. And we've got a brand new guest. It's like a new guest every single week. Want to welcome Mitch Leslie to the show. He's a caster for ESL, and he's been a long time. League of Legends, CSGO, World of Tanks. What other games? What other games have you casted for?
Mercenary.
Battlefield. Goat Simulator. Let's throw that one in there.
Wow.
Pretty much, yeah, quite a few different games. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. So anyways, welcome to the show, buddy. It's going to be awesome getting a chance to talk some Overwatch with you. He is one of the main Overwatch casters right now for ESL. So he was just coming back from the TaKeTV TakeOver event too. So awesome to have you, buddy. Okay.
A pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah. All right. So busy week. Tons of events this weekend. Actually, 2 huge lands, and that's pretty much what we're going to focus on. Of course, we'll have a little bit of we'll have a segment where we're just kind of throw in some miscellaneous things that are going on in the community, and then at the end, of course, we'll do some Q&A with you guys. So tweet those questions to @ChanManV, and I'll read those out. And for whatnot, you don't have a Twitter account, we'll take some from Twitch chat too if we don't get enough questions there. All right, so big events. TakeOver, obviously in Europe, was the big land event, and then we had the esports arena Agents Rising. But I figured we'd start off with the EU one, kind of go chronological, because that's kind of how it went anyways, because the European event was obviously taking place earlier in the day. Mitch, you were obviously one of the main casters there, and yeah, how was the event overall? I mean, we had Take On last week, so he always runs a super fun event. How was it overall?
That was great, dude. Seriously, it's quite fun to do an event over there. We like to take the piss and have a bit of fun, which is kind of nice because casters from ESL, we're pretty stiff-necked. Sometimes we can look like that, or pretty, top button done up and upright in your chair. So it's kind of nice to relax and have a bit of fun. And the games were very, very good.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Fishstix, Shayed, you get a chance to? I mean, you guys were obviously Fishstix, you were super busy, but guys get a chance to catch at least a match or two, maybe.
Dude,
maybe.
I was a little bit busy, yes, Chris, over the course of the weekend, but I tuned in where I could. Got a chance to hear some great commentary with a lot of pro players. Of course, Too Good was commentating too, which is kind of a treat. I mean, this guy is like a legendary Quake caster. He's one of the more funny assholes around in the scene. So, I mean, always enjoyable to listen to. But, man, I still need to go watch the VODs. I mean, last night, all I did was watch the esports arena VODs because I'm conceited and like listening to my own voice.
Damn, dude.
No,
okay.
I wanna watch I still need to watch the VODs. I'll say that much.
Yeah, okay. Shayed, you were watching some matches this weekend? Like me?
Yeah, I mostly watched the esports arena one though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I do have the VODs all loaded up on my computer on my other screen right now.
Yeah.
Waiting to watch it later tonight after the show.
Yeah. Cool.
For the TakeTV event, but NA's a little bit closer to me, so.
Well, yeah, the hours too. I mean, obviously Take started a little bit earlier. I tried to catch as much as I could of actually both events, and yeah, I mean, I felt like a lot of questions. There were a lot of questions for several teams going into the event, particularly Creation and Melty and. Not so much Rogue, but I think an interesting storyline kind of developed as the tournament was moving forward. First off, Creation actually knocked Rogue off in the winners bracket, which was pretty crazy, Mitch. Like, what'd you think of that?
It wasn't even close. That's the thing.
It was crazy.
Because Creation, I'm not really saying that they necessarily sandbagged the early event, but they played one comp and they stuck to it right. Double McCree, might throw a Widow in there. We had, Winston, Lucio, maybe Mercy, right? That's it. So they played that all the way up until that point. Everyone's like, oh, they played this one comp really well, but are they actually that good? Are they that versatile? And then against Rogue, they just absolutely go ham. And Rogue actually chooses the King of the Hill map maybe as some kind of to break the deadlock or something like that. And Creation wrecks them on that one. So at that point, everyone's like, okay. I was outside. One of the casters said directly to Mitzi, the manager of Creation, I think you're going to lose 3-1. Mitzi's is like, yeah, watch this. And I didn't say anything. I'm like, we'll be interested to see this. But they came out very, very strong. 3-1 was the scoreline, and it didn't look close watching it.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a dominant performance by Creation, and I think it kind of rocked Rogue too. It felt like I felt like Rogue the rest of the way. Like you could see it on their faces. Like they were in serious grind mode the rest of the way, and it kind of showed, as the end result, since Rogue ended up taking the tournament overall. But it was definitely great to see, because I think everybody going into the tournament was just hands down Rogue's best team here. We'll kind of see who finishes second, and yeah, they made definitely an interesting, just story just around the whole thing.
I mean, yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to interject and just say, like, that particular match is just a huge result in the winner bracket finals. Creation taking that win, because Creation really had solidified a position as probably number 2 in Europe about 2 or 3 months ago. They were solidly right behind IDDQD when IDDQD was really in their prime. Reunited, it was still contentious between the two, but they were making a good case for themselves. And then over the course of the last couple of months, they've just had disappointing results. So seeing this, I was watching the bracket and tuning in wherever I could. Seeing this result, 3-1 over Rogue, was absolutely huge, especially because Rogue has recently beaten teams like Reunited. So like this result was actually huge for Creation, and also equally as big for Rogue to get knocked down at that point in the tournament. So really insane stuff.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I honestly do think that Rogue got complacent. I mean, especially the last time that those two played before this event would have been the Plays.gg tournament with those 4 teams in there as well. We saw Rogue end up winning that one as well. They were confident. I spoke to IDDQD. He was definitely the most outgoing of them. Also, maybe could keep some things closer to his chest, because he said, "Yeah, I think we're going to wreck them. I think we're just the strongest team in Europe right now." And then we saw a different side to Creation. They stratted. They stratted so well, against Rogue. It wasn't even funny. Gibraltar, for good example, on that second phase, inside the hang, and they knew exactly what to do. They completely pushed Rogue out. There was no second phase on that map whatsoever. They pushed straight in, and Rogue couldn't even get inside that area. Dorado, another great example, where if you remember, or if you've seen it, even Rogue didn't even capture the first checkpoint on Dorado. They got completely shoved out. Yeah, I mean, the same situation happened as well. I think Crew from Graviton Surge was actually instrumental in their game against Rogue for that one map that they won at Dorado, where he completely wrecked them on that point. So that was an issue for them over the course of the tournament, but definitely a bit of overconfidence, I think, going in.
Yeah. Oh, you brought up Graviton Surge. I think they had a pretty nice result too, particularly beating Melty. I think that was a surprise to some of the folks. How'd you like their play?
It's quite interesting, and again, in the same vein as Creation, they've stratted very clearly. And IDDQD, specifically when he spoke to me outside, mentioned this as something that he knew. He knew exactly what they would. IDDQD knew they stratted him, should I say. Crew is an excellent player. Obviously, things didn't work out with Melty. Obviously, he left that team. He tried to create his own French super team with Wins, AKM, and Unco. That also didn't work. And he mentions that there were some differences, and just because they all spoke the same language didn't mean they necessarily communicated better. But this team works really well around him. I think Skipjack's one of the best Reinhardts in Europe. Zebasai went absolutely off tap. He was really, really good on McCree and DPS classes. So they absolutely deserve that win. Upsetting Melty is no mean feat. But Melty, I think maybe, I don't know if it's, they all have lane experience. But I think that advantage they had at the start of Overwatch has dwindled away now, and now they've got to grind with the rest of them.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, like you said, they were definitely they were the top European teams at some point in early closed beta. But at this point, they're gonna have to start putting in, the work and, possibly making some changes, just to really start competing again. But it's great. It's definitely great to see that there's we're starting to see 3 teams starting to merge, and actually, 3 or 4 teams in each of the regions starting to really vie for just the top spots or top 2 spots. And that's always a healthy place to be. We didn't quite see that the entire time in the closed beta, just because we didn't have that many teams. But that number should grow, right? Just with more and more teams that we're seeing, some more of these open tournaments too, and just seeing some, just some of these just some of these players that we see in Discord and just like playing the games and stuff, starting to come together and make teams. I think we're going to start, the next month or two, we're going to maybe have to up that number to maybe about 8 teams, that could get to the point where they, you could finish top 2, that sort of thing. That'd be a really awesome place to be. At least I think so. Like, what do you think, Ben? I mean, that's like, is that ideal to have just like parity, or is it better to have like a dominant team?
Obviously, you want to have parity, I think. People have said it, I've heard it a number of times throughout my esports career, that when one single team can dominate for a long period of time, that kind of proves in a way that the game does have a high skill cap, because it does
Yep.
allow for a team to really set themselves apart from the rest. And we have seen that in Overwatch now a couple of times. You know, first it was Melty, then it was Hubris, then of course it was IDDQD. Right now, sort of Cloud9, but not head and shoulders above the top European teams at all, and also not head and shoulders above the top North American teams as we saw this weekend, which was definitely something that I want to touch on a little bit later, as a lot of teams came out of the gate swinging this weekend. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what the next weekend, or the next big weekend that we have with LAN tournaments, how, I guess how these teams are going to respond. So LG this weekend, Shayed, like you guys kind of took a break, right? This weekend. I think Esper played though. Esper ended up playing on the Agents Rising. Actually,
unfortunately, we couldn't make it to the tournament as a team. But Esper asked if he could play with like a pickup group. And he ended up playing with them.
I think they did all right too, didn't they?
Gamer Sensei, or I think that was what they were called. But yeah, so he's basically just like, well, since we're not going as a team, I'm gonna go play with these other people. And we're like,
right. Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, I'm sure the next big weekend we'll see you guys there too.
We'll be at the next LAN for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, getting back to the takeover, Mitch, just overall, this is Take's first Overwatch tournament. In general, how do you think it went? From the standpoint of spectator and just overall production, all that good stuff.
The production at Take is in my class, like, it's top level, right? And it's not because they have the flashy lights and the amazing camera pans. It's because they're incredibly responsive, right? These guys have been working for a long time, and working on a maybe less formal production actually forces you to be a bit sharper. If I want a meme of a frog dancing on the screen, I'm going to get my fucking frog dancing, right? These guys will do it. Great example was we had Mendo on the camera, Mendokusai on the camera, and the production brought up a picture of Arya Stark. And right underneath.
Nice.
I heard about this. That is amazing.
Or, for example, when I slapped Jason in the face with a massive cocktail wiener, they slowed that down. They played it back as like a play of the game from Reinhardt or something like that. So they take the piss, but it also requires you to have to pull assets from elsewhere and be on point. So there, I can't fault them. Some of the best guys I've worked with, really. We've worked with some of them at ESL, as we sort of see them fairly often, but it was good fun. I had spectate whenever I casted, which is obviously, from a casting perspective, less than ideal. My quality definitely drops personally if I'm spectating and casting at the same time, because I can't listen to what the other guys are saying. So for the final, that's example, I was sort of specking there as well. So really, I could only add maybe 60% or 70% of what I normally could, which is a shame. But luckily, we had two good there on the couch, and Jason couldn't always fill a play-by-play role if he had to. He started out as an analyst, but he has no issue really talking a lot, which is great. So that's something.
Say that again.
Yeah, Jason talking.
That's
no
probably
problem.
But that's my only regret, I think, to be honest, and something that would be nice to see worked on. And there's budget, and there's other things to consider. Does it take anyone who knows the game at enough of a level to spectate it properly, or know who to be looking at, and when, and how, and why? Having 4 McCrees in the game and knowing trying to figure out who to go to when they're using Deadeye is a nightmare. Though I don't recommend that to anyone.
My goodness.
But no, it's fine, and the games were good. The venue is fantastic, really, just to chill. I mean, I can go and have a beer, I can go and have something to eat while I'm waiting, or whatever. You have to take your shoes off when you go in there, which is super German. So everyone's walking around in like flip-flops or slippers. Yeah, because if the floors are all nice and stuff like that. I guess it's open to the public normally, so it's just the house rule they have. But
okay. How big is the place? Because it looks enormous on camera. Is it like, I mean, how big? I mean, just generally, do you know how big it feels, or maybe even the square footage of the place? I don't know.
It's pretty sizable, right? So what you have is, when you see us on camera, you have the couch, and behind us is pretty much the entire venue. What they do cleverly is they front light the pillars to give an impression of space, and there is a reasonable amount. So behind us is about 10 meters to a wall, and then there's also a smaller section past that as well, off towards the left, like not a corridor, but a wider area where they've got like a DDR in there, they've got a poker table, they've got a pool table, they've got a kicker table, they've got tons of screens in there. So it is quite big, and there's a lower level as well where all the players were pretty much practicing and stuff for the whole time. So quite bigger than I expected it to be as well, because Germans in their architecture are great at fitting a lot into a very small space. So there's a lot on top of us, but plenty of room there, but they definitely help that with some lighting and other effects. Yeah.
No, amazing. So how is it casting with just too good, and even Nathanius, right? Nathanius casting for the first time too there, and Jorsar too, doing Overwatch. How was just the collection?
So I've watched Nathanius for a long time. You know, never really actually got to meet him because I was never involved in StarCraft. So his technical skill is very impressive. I mean, he's very experienced. I think about the EU scene, he wasn't maybe as fully aware as we were, as not being playing in it, but it just doesn't matter. A guy can come in and cast someone eating breakfast cereal. It really doesn't matter. He did an excellent job. Too Good is just something else. That guy, he's eccentric, he's charming, he's incredibly good on his feet. So he also, like, I'll be honest, he was not in great shape in day one. He was pretty tired, jet lagged, as he called it. We'll go with that. Nate obviously suffered the same fate. So he was, you know, it took him a while to get going, but he knows a heck of a lot about the game. He can really cut through to the heart of a matter when it comes to analysis. I think Slash is really great. He's got a lot of great knowledge. But what I think Too Good does better than anyone else right now is he looks and he picks out the things that you just wouldn't necessarily see bubble to the surface. He literally goes deep. And I think everything he had to say in general was quite insightful for even myself, who's played a decent amount of the game. So that was great. Jorasar as well, to be honest, I actually haven't worked with him before. I did see him casting a bit of the King of the Watch stuff as well, where they played Dorado like fucking 10 times in a row or something. But he did well. That's a marathon, right? Super effervescent kind of guy. We actually both have an engineering background as well, so we got to chat about that. And he was really good at running interviews, hosting the event. We have similar styles, so put us on the couch together, and we had to talk a bit beforehand, so it wasn't going to be a tug of war, but it's fun. Great guy. Really, really nice.
Yeah, he has a whole bundle of YouTube videos with interviews and behind the scenes stuff. I think he tweeted it out last night. Definitely check that out from Jorasar. Sounded like a great. So the concurrence actually got, when I was watching it was somewhere between 25 and 30K, which, you know, at the moment before Agents Rising, you know, came in, I was just like, wow, this is obviously fantastic. Obviously new highs for Overwatch at the time. Viewership wise, you know, pleased, surprised you guys? Was everybody there pretty surprised, or did you get any kind of feeling of that, Mitch?
Day one, probably the viewership wasn't what we would have liked. I think it was around 7K max. Right. Bit disappointing.
Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah. But we picked at 34K is what I've been told from
34.
Take
okay, awesome.
On Sunday, which is really, really cool. And more than anything, what makes me happy about that is for the players, right? Like, we're telling a story. We're bigging up these dudes who are here first, and they're putting in 8 hours a day right now. And 34K people get to hear me verbally suck to dick on camera, right? I'm giving all, you know, I'm saying this guy's incredible. He put so much time into the game, and all the rest of the guys as well. So that makes me happy. They're getting the recognition they deserve, and of course, you know, even Agents Rising with even more than that as well. So it was a good weekend considering the most viewers before, I think, was the Overkill finals, which was like 17K. That's just what I saw concurrent. So there's growth there. Will it maintain? Will it sustain? Who knows? But so far, it's a great start.
Will it maintain? Come on, man. Okay, it's just gonna grow. I mean, none of this like you know, just conservative stuff, because it's only going to go up from here, and it already getting up to this point with a week into the whole thing. This is pretty amazing. From the standpoint, let's talk about meta, just kind of what we saw. You touched a little bit about, you know, how people were just straight up countering other teams, just what they typically do. Generally, what did you see, you know, with the meta in terms of payload maps versus, you know, King of the Hill single point maps?
King and Hill was often the same comp, really. I mean, there's kind of an optimal comp for that, right? It's how quickly can we build their faces in, and you know, how little casualties can we take while doing that, right? Double Lucio, double McCree. You can throw Mercy in there, that's fine. And then Winston's, right? This is no surprise. And McCree in general was incredibly prolific over the whole weekend. It's my opinion, my humble opinion, that he's absolutely busted right now.
Totally.
Just the flashbang mechanics. I'm sorry, he's great, and I am more than happy to abuse him until the cows come home right now. But he's broken, and that's why everyone used him so much. But a couple of teams ran double Genji, double Winston, really nice for quick attacking sides. I think Melty nailed that. Them, because they have two excellent Genji players in D-Gun, or Flippy could play, but mostly D-Gun and Nico. So we got to see a little bit, but most importantly, the teams that hero switched were the teams that won games, and that's what everyone can really take away from this weekend.
Yeah. Did we see any Zarya? I mean, I know there were some mixed in, like instead of running double Winstons, they were running like Winston Zarya some.
Yeah, so for example, Northern Gaming Blue, who were Gringos, they've now changed it, Soda Poppin's team, I guess. They relied on the Graviton Surge Dragon Strike combo as well, which is kind of interesting because Reinhardt Shield doesn't mean anything, of course, with that ult, but actually getting the pieces of the puzzle all together is kind of hard to do. But yes, you often saw Zarya in lieu of maybe one Winston, or instead of like a Winston, there'd be just Reinhardt Zarya combo. Players like Crew specifically were very, very, very good at energy management, right? They'd be charged up 100% before they even got close to the point. So players with good foresight and good communication. Graviton Surge, ironically enough, I think probably employed it best, but we saw TaKeTV play excellent on Zarya throughout the weekend as well. So yeah, I think it was reasonably prolific.
Yeah, that was cool seeing TaKeTV play Zarya. I didn't actually catch him play that much of it before that, but it was definitely cool seeing him switching between that. And just his normal, obviously his normal comps or normal characters. Shayed, what do you think of Zarya right now? Even in NA, is Zarya? We're starting to see her more.
I mean, me personally, I think she's the most fun tank to play. Like, if I have to fill that role, I immediately pick Zarya. She's super fun.
Yeah.
For some reason lately, I feel like, I don't know if it's just all the new people playing the game, but I find it really easy to get high energy. So I don't know if that's like a new thing.
Oh, yeah.
Or if it's always been that way. But yeah, I just find it super easy now to just immediately get high energy. And like I said, I don't know if that's like new people playing the game that are still figuring out, like, don't shoot the shield. But yeah, I think we saw her quite a bit over the weekend for the NA tournament, the Agents Rising, like a lot, mostly from C9, I think. Kai has been playing her a shit ton. But yeah, I don't know. She's really fun to play, and she's obviously doing really well in like a meta standpoint because she's being played a ton too. So
yeah, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Zarya has never really fallen out of the meta. She's been picked consistently since the first phases of the beta. But I think this weekend, she, at least for the Agents Rising tournament, she had a bit of a resurgence. We did see double Zarya. A couple, like Clutch was playing double Zarya a lot. Some other teams picked double Zarya, but like you said, Mitch, it was in lieu of another Winston in the double Winston strategy, or just a lot of the time with Reinhardt and Zarya, they pair together quite well, actually. And I think really the reason we're seeing her a lot more is because teams and players individually are starting to learn the timings for how to use that bubble just a little bit better. And we're seeing things more commonly like throwing the Zarya bubble on a ulting McCree, or even just a Reinhardt as he moves forward and starts bashing away. You can dash forward and then just start bashing away with that Zarya shield. If you place it at the right time, it is actually so effective, and people just didn't really have that timing prior to recently. I mean, it's not all that complicated conceptually to put a shield on when you're expecting the damage to come, but it's only, I feel like we're only really starting to see it become super effective now. And again, it does just pair so well with so many ultimates and individual heroes as well. So yeah, we saw a ton of Zarya this weekend. Still, Reinhardt and Winston played more, but yeah, Zarya has definitely made a statement for being kind of a replacement to either or. I mean, especially Winston, it's kind of interchangeable depending on your play style and the point in the map. Winston obviously still has the verticality aspect, but yeah, Zarya's great.
I think out of all the tanks, I always feel more safe with Zarya on my team. Like if I'm playing support, which is pretty much always, then I feel more safe. Like even with a Reinhardt, I don't feel as safe as with the Zarya. With the Winston, not so much. With Zarya, I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna die. This is great. I'm just gonna get shielded, and I'm gonna live forever. And I'm gonna get all the reses in the world. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, she's hard to kill too, and I think to your point, Ben, too, is that the efficiency that I think like these teams are getting to the point, especially kill efficiency, that buying a little, like literally an extra second or two for any of the characters, I mean, can win or lose a match, or usually wins a match actually. Like the Reinhardt, I mean, you give Reinhardt like 2 more swings, I mean, you're talking like potentially 2 more kills right there. So yeah, I mean, they're getting,
and also
really
with Bastion.
Yeah, Bastion, that's true.
Giving Bastion an opportunity to set up. Actually, I want to ask Mitch, did you see much Bastion this weekend?
Yeah, we saw.
We did see a little bit, yeah. So great example is Bromas from Creation. If he has a chance, he'll try and play it. Good example, he tried it multiple times on Route 66 with differing degrees of success, I feel, on the attacking side, mind you. This is not
on the attacking
side. So,
okay.
Yeah, so Bromas is a very good flex player. He's incredibly good. I prefer to see him on McCree if I want his team to win, but we did see him switch to that Bastion reasonably often, and he'll do it more than happily on that first point in Numbani, right? Where we see teams that will play that Symmetra Torbjorn combination where it's just so enclosed. We don't often see it on other maps. They'll do it there. Bromas played Bastion as much as he could, but Genji wrecks him so hard. So again, like if you're going up against Melty or something and they're employing that strategy, or a team that has one or maybe two Genjis that can proficiently cause you problems, you just don't bother with it. But luckily, of course, one of the best Genjis at the event was on Creation in Lynx, so they didn't really have too many problems. Every now and then, he busted out for those first points on a hybrid map, or get cheeky on the attacking side of any payload map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually saw a number of Bastion picks in the Agents Rising tournament. We've seen Surefour pick Bastion quite a few times over the last several months, but that was very much so the case this weekend. And also, Team Liquid, Zoms was picking Bastion on a lot of different maps, and not necessarily sticking with Bastion, headstrong, just sticking with Bastion no matter what. No, it was actually just switching to Bastion a lot of the time to force a reaction out of the opponents. And it did that very, very effectively. When you switch to Bastion and you don't have the right comp to deal with that, you're going to have to change things up, which kind of can set this chain effect where they switch and then you can counterpick their counterpick.
Yep.
So I definitely like seeing Bastion come into the meta a bit. And it was really interesting because Bastion actually at a very high level only really effective if you have quite a specific composition. I'm pretty sure you saw the same thing. It has to be the Reinhardt shield in front. It has to be a Mercy damage boosting and healing, really, really like sticking onto the Bastion. Frequently, it also has to have a Widowmaker. Doesn't have to have the Widowmaker, but it just does seem to combo very, very well. And also, like we were mentioning before, Zarya really a key part of that. So if you're playing Bastion, there's a likely chance that you're paying this one composition of Lucio, Mercy, Widowmaker, Reinhardt, maybe a Zarya. That one's the one that's a little bit more up in the air, but you basically want to have that exact composition when you're playing Bastion. But when you do have that, it works really well and forces a response like almost every time.
Yeah, that's
I saw quite a few times where Zoms picked Bastion on King of the Hill, right? Li Zhang.
Yeah, and Surefour.
Yes. And just really tearing up the objective area, right? Go ahead,
I think
Mitch.
there's just quickly on that topic, there's also an expectation upon Bastion players today to peel for themselves. And while that may not mean healing themselves in a fight or avoiding, but actually moving, right? Be that cello player in the marching band and actually be ready to be mobile, like around that point. To a degree, if you're needing to babysit a Bastion, that's a bit too much of an allocation of resources to one player. When unless your strategy hinges on it, which is fine, but most often it's a bit of icing on top. It's extra damage. It deals with Winstons really well. That's the biggest thing about it. It wrecks double Winston comps so hard, especially when you have Reapers that get wrecked by the opposition McCree, so you can't really play Reaper a lot of the time. Bastion can deal with that quite well if you set him up correctly. So self-peel, move around the map. But you do need to look after yourself and not have too many resources allocated to you. Otherwise, it's like a game of Jenga and there's nothing really good to take out and the whole tower falls down.
Yeah, it's an all-in type of thing, like once it happens. And that's why people end up switching off of it. I rarely see the teams playing it the entire map. Very few times, unless they're having a lot of success, obviously. But,
Li Zhang Tower, LG versus C9. Now too.
Yes, we all saw that one.
Yes, we all saw that one. Like I said, when you're having success with it, then why switch, right? But
one thing that Team Liquid did quite a few times against Cloud9 in the grand finals, when Cloud9 would switch to Bastion, they would actually also switch to Bastion. So this is one counter to Bastion I haven't seen before, is just another Bastion. So we actually saw multiple times 2 Bastions wailing down Reinhardt shields, just trying to kill each other. That was the first.
Yeah, definitely cool. Okay, well, why don't we transition over to the NA LAN, Esports Arena Agents Rising, and this is, of course, the event that Fishstix you were casting at, as well as, let's see who else. It was T Squared, Huck, and of course Joshi, and you guys, and Jamerson too. Yeah, that's right.
I really like Jamerson a lot, actually. I had never heard of him. I had never heard of him before this event, and I thought he did awesome. I was like,
yeah, it was good casting with him. I enjoyed it.
I don't think he's done anything really at Overwatch so far, from what I could tell, because I haven't heard of him before.
I think this might be one of his first things, with Overwatch.
He did really
a solid job. Yeah, he definitely did a solid job. Of course, Ben, you did a great job too.
Ben just
Thank you.
I mean, it was like a long day too. Like, how many hours were you casting the last day?
Well, it's funny because I work at Twitch and I've been hands-on with so many events now. but from the social media marketing partnership side of things, where I'm more there to make sure that everything's going smoothly and like our relationship with the partner is going well, and sending out tweets. But this time I went as talent for the very first time for like full 13, 14, 15-hour work days. And it's a very, very different perspective at that point because we actually only each got one solid break each day. So when you're on the analysis desk, you're not really casting the whole time. So, you can relax a little bit, but you're basically on for 14 hours. You wake up 7:30, get to the venue 8:39, and then you cast for 12 to 13 hours with very little break, which it may sound like I'm complaining. It was actually a ton of fun. Like, yes, you get tired, but the adrenaline will tend to carry you through. But it was kind of interesting seeing that side for the first time for myself, at least.
Yeah, Mitch knows the grind, man, of course, right?
Yeah. I think my favorite moment of the entire like caster desk, analyst desk experience was when Tom and T2 and Huck were trying to fill dead time between either a game or there was an audio issue or something, and they decided to. He was like, "We're gonna throw it back to the analyst desk," and Tom just went like this with his hands, like through it, and it literally was like perfect timing. It was the funniest thing ever.
That was the first literal throw. Like that's a production.
Yeah, he's like, "We're gonna throw it back to the caster's desk," and it just like it was perfect. It was perfect timing.
Yeah.
I don't think he realized it. I think he just kind of did it and it worked perfectly. It was like my favorite
kudos
caster
to
desk
I guess
moment.
the producers on that, at least for the timing. So the venue too looked like it was happening. It looks like it's kind of like Take's place too. I mean, it just looked like there was a party there. So talk about that a little bit too. Was that just all teams, or there was definitely a crowd, but there were times where there were some empty seats too. So what was the actual turnout?
Honestly, the audience was mainly comprised of players. I mean, you have to remember 32 teams attended this thing, so 32 times 6, you do the math. It's about 200 people.
Yep.
About 200 people were just playing in the tournament. So the majority of the audience was just players, and then like the close friends and family of the players. Although I did meet a couple of people that came from out of town just for the tournament. I met a little kid with his mom who flew from Texas just to attend the LAN, which was really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, the audience, it was relatively small, to be frank. We probably only ever had about 50 people in the crowd, but during the grand finals and leading up into the grand finals, they were getting really into it. And that was actually the first time I've been to an event at the esports arena, and I'm impressed with those guys. Okay. Yeah, it is actually. I had seen it when they were building the thing a couple of years back, but I hadn't actually been in.
That's a great venue.
But a couple of things, like first of all, the production team was top notch. The fact that we had highlights cut and ready to go, basically less than 5 minutes after the match ended, was really, really cool. And those of you who are watching the stream, I think that we did a pretty damn good job with the observing too, because we actually had 3 total observers.
Okay, we got to talk about that. All right, so during the finals or semifinals, Imagine hopped on the Discord, and we were, I got a chance to just ask him like, what's the setup like right now? Because I didn't get a chance to ask, and then I found out Flo was specking. I didn't even know Flo was specking too. So three specs and a director, and I'll say right now, and Shayed, you can agree or disagree, but by far the best spec event that we've seen in Overwatch like so far. A lot of it still was, it actually convinced me that first person actually might be okay. Just staying on first person as much as, I was a huge advocate of not staying so much on first person as we have, leading just up to date. But then the job that they did and just timing, just the right people that had ults coming, or, just whatever DPS or, just carry that was just unloading. I mean, they caught so many great plays that it was just obvious that this was like the best that we've seen so far. And then I found out later it was it's basically 3 cameramen with a director, and I was like, oh, okay, now we're talking. Now we're freaking talking. I know, look at Mitchy, man.
Oh my God.
Mitch is like, hell yeah.
The week that we had Rachel on the show, after the show ended, the 3 of us were kind of still hanging out and talking a little bit, and ChanManV and I had a conversation about how do we make this game work through spectator and observer, because right now the way that's being done is not working. And I think our conversation, we were like, we just need to have 10 people spectating different things that are happening.
Yeah, like 5.
And getting overhead views. Maybe not 10, but you know what I mean. It's like you need to have a lot of people, especially if Blizzard is going to do something huge esports wise, they need to make sure that everything is being covered, every angle is like seen and caught in case a big play does happen, and you could be potentially watching someone else when something huge is going on that you might miss. And if you have multiple observers, you can catch that and then play it later on and be like, hey, we didn't catch this during the game, but check out this huge play that happened. And one of the things that I didn't like, though, about the, I guess, not production, but I guess the playback of the games that was going on was there was a few points, a couple minutes during every game where they would put up cameras of the players in like the middle of the screen, and it would cover ult charge.
Oh.
Of like whoever they were spectating
which is
at
everything,
the time.
right?
Yeah, which is everything, right.
And that's such an important thing to see.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
especially as a spectator, like watching the game, and especially people learning and seeing stuff for the first time, like not knowing what ult charge is at is like pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So like if anyone from the team that is out there listening, don't ever do that again.
Yeah. Mitch.
Potentially unpopular opinion here as well, but while we're on the topic of talking about making the game more viewable or more interpretable,
sure.
I think to a degree when people and spectators in general start to understand the game a bit more, it's going to make more sense to them as well, and we may not need 20 guys specking. Obviously the problem is that all the people that we want to really impress and attract are the people that are new, right? That's the hard part. So I generally think that if you have a spectator that understands the game, that is familiar, that knows what's important to be watching, that knows that they need to be watching Seagull or Lynx or Tvik or whatever, that's a good start. But I think a lot of this will be assisted by people having an understanding and playing the game themselves and knowing where sort of everything is around them. And also, I agree with the first person idea. We want to tell these players stories, right? I was probably guilty of too much third person, so I could allow people to understand what the heck was going on with all the clutter.
Yeah.
But what's more important, in my opinion, is showing off the players and what they can actually do with the game. Yeah, you have to balance that with making it understandable, but I think people will also make more sense of it as we go on.
Yeah, it's
one of my favorite things is. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I was gonna say it's about plays. You know what I mean? It's about really showing off these players, making huge plays, and kind of following up on your point, just with the. Having the observers understand the game, it's another level, and it's like another level at which we've seen, which is like we need a director that like completely understands the game, on top of cams that camera people that can showcase whatever their role is, like to showcase this team or showcase this one player, like just make them look as good as possible, and then it's the director's job, right, to really call what's being shown. And it's cool that we're, this is like the first attempt at it. That's why I just want to make sure that people understand like what the quality was like this week. And Mitch was just already talking about how painful or how difficult it is for a caster to do it. So Ben was definitely spoiled this week by getting a chance to just focus purely on casting. And how was that, Ben? Like you have to observe a lot of times too.
Yeah, of course it's really nice having someone else do the observing for you. I think we did a really good job. I want to give a huge shout out to our 3 observers. We had Imagine and Flo, who's done a lot of StarCraft 2 observing in the past. And then we also had Scene K. That said, I think we still have a really, really, really long way to go.
Of course.
Watching the VODs last night, I was just taking tons and tons of notes about how I personally think we can change things. And everyone has a completely different opinion about, well, almost every aspect of observing. But I mean, I personally think that we could have done maybe a little bit more third person towards the end there. It seemed like 95% first. I think something like 30-70 would be pretty nice. And it's all about context too. I mean, when the teams when there's downtime, like there's 3 people on attack die and they're the other 3 just run back to spawn to wait. Like I don't want to watch first person for 30 seconds with nothing happening. Show me the positions on defense. Show me how people are coming out on offense and how the team is like splitting up. Another thing is like we had picture in picture, which was really, really, really cool.
Yes.
But I was watching the VODs last night, and I think one thing that we could do with picture in picture is like we were typically doing free float cam in the picture in picture so you could see the action from bird's eye view, but then the camera would move around a little bit, which kind of made it a little bit hard to watch both the main screen and picture in picture. So one of the notes I took is like, if we do picture in picture and have that be bird's eye, just like stay as high as you can and move as little as possible, just so you can see the characters running around and moving without having to readjust and make sense of it again. I think that would be something that could help a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the observers did a really nice job. It made casting way, way easier. Another thing that I think could be really useful moving into the next tournament is if one of the casters actually does have the ability to spectate in game. And I don't know if this would maybe not necessarily capture that point of view for the stream, but if one of the casters had the ability to spec and fly around so we could see things at our own pace, maybe if you have like a TriCast or something, maybe have the analyst. I messed up that word like 4 times over the weekend. But maybe have the analyst with the spectator mode so that they can kind of take their own point of view and look at things how they want to do. Yeah. I think would be pretty helpful, because as nice as it is just to watch one screen and commentate what you're seeing there, there were times where I'm definitely like, oh, I want to check on this. Oh, I just saw that guy go that way, but we're not watching them. Like, I want to see how they're flanking. Having that control on the caster desk, I think, could also be pretty useful.
Yeah, agree. Mitch, you were going to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are quite a few things that you can see at a glance. On the spectator screen, right? You can see health, you can see ultimate charge percentage, although that can sometimes be somewhat obscured. What's really important to see is cooldowns of stuff like that as well. Mm-hmm. Is McCree's flashbang on cooldown, or did he just get wrecked 1v1 by that Mercy because he can't aim? So a great example would be, I mean, same as League of Legends, right? Their analyst has access to their in-game themselves, so they can mouse over items. They can see how many charges the Tear of the Goddess has. They can see whatever. They can look at people's stats. You know, that's obviously really, really helpful, and they can see something from a different angle. So if you can't capture this on the screen, and I'm looking at the clean feed from the observers, I also can't tell that the Tracer flanked in from the back of the fight and got. I can see that they killed them. I can conject if I hear the pulse bomb. I know that they killed him with a pulse bomb, but how, what, why, when, and who? You know, right. In the future as well, what I'd love is the ability. Maybe this is possible. Maybe it's not the way the servers are set up, but being able to use some time scale and actually be able to go back in time. Because one thing that I think the LCS does very well is one observer is on time, the other observer is about 10 seconds behind. And that observer, or ahead, sorry, like they're rewinded, right? So they can tell the guy who's live what's going to be happening, where he needs to be, or what he needs to be ready to capture.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah,
and
totally.
that was possible in TF2 as well. So it's been something that we've suggested to Blizzard. I think a couple of different people have submitted documents, including that as a wish list feature. So we'll see. Please visit.
We should still stay.
One of the things I would really like to see from like a spectator point of view or like an observer is if you had the ability, like to speak what Ben was saying, to kind of have a camera like way high up in the air, as high as you can get it. I think part that comes with that is cutting off the tops of rooftops on the map.
Right. And
like
transparency
invisible
too.
rooftops, basically. Yeah. Especially on places like Dorado. Like Lijiang Tower, second point, where the control point literally has a roof on top of it. Like if you could go above the control point itself and still see down inside, I think that would be really, really amazing. Like just having kind of a transparent roof or just cutting off the roofs of stuff like that.
I mean, most of the single control points actually have roofs on them. So
yeah,
in general, I think, it just needs to
just even from recording scrims and doing kind of like an overhead view of stuff like that, it's really difficult to get a good view of what's going on from an overhead when you have to like position yourself like in a corner of the room and like try to get an overhead view from there. It would be so much easier if there was just from the spectator position, everything was transparent over the top.
Yeah, definitely. I still think we should stay away from Winston's, like just engagements. That was the one times where it's just like we'd go to him, and whether it wasn't really so much first person Winston as much it was the person Winston was attacking, and all of a sudden you would see the camera just like literally going in all kinds of directions, and it was that's definitely never good from the standpoint of showing just that perspective to the audience. So still need to figure out that Winston's obviously going to be in the meta for here and there or just forever, and it's something that we'll probably just some types of techniques that we'll have to figure out for that. But overall, yeah, definitely good. Obviously there's a lot of games. We should get to the games. Just want to, talk about the production. Just make sure we get to it. But yeah, let's talk about the actual teams and the games. I mean, there was, as much storyline as we were talking about with Creation, there was a big storyline with Team Liquid. I think generally in this tournament, didn't knock off C9, like Creation did with Rogue. In fact, they got stomped by C9 the first time they ran into each other in the winners bracket. But Team Liquid was able, to fight just from the losers bracket all the way back up, and then meet C9 in the finals again, and made it kind of interesting in the very beginning of it too. I think everybody was like, "What's happening right now? Is Liquid really gonna do this?"
It was so much closer than I think some people realized. That grand finals was the most hype I think I've ever been for an Overwatch tournament or like a series or anything. It was so good. And I kind of wish they hadn't given C9 the 2-0.
What is this extended series thing, dude?
I don't I understand
what was
giving
up
the
with
winner's
that?
bracket advantage. I get that. Like, you need to give the winner's bracket an advantage. But like with the way that the point system was, I think 2-0 was a bit much, and you could have made it a little bit longer of a series if you had just put them up 1-0 instead of 2.
Yeah,
I just don't like extended series. Period. It should have been double elimination. Just like, let's go. Like, we've had this talk with MLG. Like, I don't know how many times in the past. Like, I thought we were done with this. Actually,
I don't actually dislike extended series inherently. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I do agree with Lynn that maybe if it was just a 1-0 advantage, that could have changed things a little bit. It would have meant that we've gone to a final map. I guess if it was 1-0 versus 2-0.
It felt incomplete, basically.
Yeah, we were just worried though. I mean, we were worried about doing double elimination because it was already a couple hours over schedule.
Sure.
Yeah, we would have probably, we could have been there really, really late if it was double elimination. If they could have reset the bracket. But yeah, I mean, like, talking about the teams and the storylines a little bit. I think the standout storyline for me is that North America now has a number of teams that are all around similar skill level as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. Cloud9 still, even though the finals was really close, Team Liquid played incredibly well. They played so much better than we've ever seen them play before. But below Cloud9, we've now got these three teams that kind of established themselves this weekend. Team Liquid playing with two new players, so it's a very different roster than any time beforehand. Yep. But Gale Force Esports played so well. Yes. We've seen Code 7 play well a couple of months ago, but they've been pretty much off the radar of the competitive scene. They haven't been entering tournaments. They haven't been doing anything in the public face. So they played super well, man. Like, I was so impressed with the play out of Nicholas, especially. Nicholas and Torque, the guys that are kind of best known as the DPS players on this team. They played so well in their fragging ability, but it was more than just fragging ability. We had this moment where it was Gale Force versus Team Liquid, and Zoms had switched on over to Bastion, and Nicholas was playing Widow to start things off, but he's like, shit, I can't get behind this Reinhardt shield. So he ran back to spawn and he switched to Diva, which when I'm casting, I'm like, Diva to counter Bastion, like, I hadn't even thought of this as like a good counter. But what he did is he synergized perfectly with the two Winstons on his team, playing with three tanks. And just as the Winstons were jumping up, Diva flew up, used the defensive matrix to absorb all of Bastion's shots. Wow. And then the two Winstons were in Bastion's face immediately. And like, I can't speak highly, I can't say enough about that kind of play, because it's really rare that you see something that unique in Overwatch. So that was Nicholas who switched to Diva. They obviously had this in their back pocket. So it's not just the aim and fragging ability, but it's also the strategies that we saw at Gale Force. And then Colorado Clutch was also a team that we had never seen before. They hadn't played in a single tournament ever. They've been behind the scenes scrimming 6 to 10 hours a day for weeks and weeks and weeks in the end of the beta phase, and they played really, really well. I mean, they had a really close game against Gale Force, who had a really close game against Team Liquid, who had a really close game against Cloud9. So all of these teams played really well. And I'm just happy to see that North America is looking pretty stacked all of a sudden, because you've got Cloud9, you've got LG, but then now you've got these three new teams that just kind of established or reestablished their presence as like a high-level Overwatch team this weekend.
Let's not also forget
awesome. that Envy too.
Envious is now in as well.
Yep.
NA, I don't know. Are they NA? Like
They're officially
It's
NA.
about it. We'll
I
see.
mean, they're playing
It's
in
5
NA,
year-
they're playing on
okay.
NA servers.
They're
It's
officially
5
NA.
Europeans, but I heard that they're like not all gonna stay forever.
Yeah.
It might be just temporary. So I don't know
They
what
could
to
be
call
in the country
NV
for
right
up to
now.
6 months. So for the next 6
Yeah.
months, they're NA.
Okay, fair enough.
I play
Well-
against Taimu like every morning now. So
Well, whatever it
he can
is,
go back
they're
to you whenever
you
he
know.
wants at this point because his widow is too much for my morning solo queue.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, NA is looking pretty good here, and tournaments like this, esports arena that's just completely open. This is like best case scenario where we get to see some new teams rising, even teams that have been already playing some tournaments and they're stepping it up to the next level. Just a progression, right? That's really the key thing to see with teams, and we're starting to see that. Just if we haven't talked about it yet, congratulations, obviously, to Cloud9 for winning the tournament. We all expected, but still, it is a feat. Just completing it, and I think what happened with Cloud9 a little bit is just that they just didn't. They were just sitting there waiting for like hours and hours, just seeing who was their opponent was going to be, and it might have been a little bit cold starting off the series too, but whatever reason, it ended up being an interesting thing. But generally, guys, I don't hate to bring it up again. Extended series. Imagine if it wasn't, guys. It would have been so tight in this first, between the two. And this whole King of the Hill, where we count each of the rounds as a point. I don't know if I love that either. It was definitely favored to Cloud9 too, I think, in my opinion.
I mean, the thing is, right, you also have to ask yourself how much is appropriate to give a team an advantage for being in the upper bracket, right?
Yeah.
There's such thing as too much and too little. For example, it was a best of 7, we gave Creation a 1 map advantage.
Yeah,
Just one.
sure.
Have a best of 7. And you could probably justify giving them 2, to be fair, because it's an extended series, it's a best of 7, and then it turns into essentially a best of 3 for them. I think you should be rewarding a team for obviously coming through the upper bracket. I don't think there's that's obviously an obvious one. No one's arguing with that. But when you can get 2 points per map in this system that we had at Agents Rising, that may be too much considering we didn't actually get to see a whole lot played ultimately, of course, with Li Zhang up first and the other two after, maybe just a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's one of those things where absolutely you have to give them an advantage. But it's one of those things where you just kind of like it to be a clean slate going into the finals again. Just at least feel like that, even though they might have a set advantage, but at least start 0-0, because even mentally it's probably better for, the team that's behind to kind of go into it. It's like, okay, fresh start, we can kind of start over and, maybe get this set and then, maybe pull momentum into the second one. But no question, we should give them an advantage. It's just I just never love just giving a team some kind of advantage going into the finals because it's pretty rare that they come back. To be honest, I don't know what the statistics are in StarCraft or whatnot when we've used extended series. It's not very often that they come back, and I have to think that it's not just just having a 2-0 lead as much as it's a mental thing too. These games are like have a lot to do with psychology and things like that, and I don't know, starting 0-0 is a big deal in my opinion.
Well, the fact is they could play Li Zhang Tower, which maybe in my opinion doesn't require a heck of a lot of strategy. Right. So by the time they finish that game and haven't used any strategy and haven't shown anything, it's 4-0 already. You're like, what?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point.
Oh. I actually the format that I suggested that they use for this tournament, and the one that I kind of like the most, is round robin group stages into single elim bracket with long sets. That is my favorite format because it's pretty fair. Because even if seeding is a little bit off, the double elimination the round robin groups kind of mitigates that, and then you go into like best of 5s, best of 7s, even best of 9, maybe grand finals in single elimination, and then you have these really long epic sets where everything is on the line. Every single set matters because one team is going to get sent home. So I personally like that as my favorite format. Just throwing that.
I do too. No, I think
anyone.
Groups have always been good because, like, even just from an event organizer standpoint, you fill hours, you fill days with the group stages, and you get to see just all the teams, and they play whatever 3 or 4 matches, guaranteed to play those matches right in the group stages, and then like you said, Ben, it sets up for a great final day where every single game and match matters, and it's just their tournament life is determined in each of those. It makes out for an epic thing. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so I guess anything meta-wise? I mean, we talked a little bit about meta just when we were talking about the takeover with this event too. Anything else stand out with you guys? I saw some. Man, I saw some folks playing May there too. Like some.
Yeah, we saw a tiny bit
right?
of May.
That was kind of crazy.
It worked. I mean, teams were having some success with May, but she was still very rarely played in the grand scheme of things. And I imagine probably similar to what you guys saw over in Europe this weekend. We just saw a ton of McCrees, double McCree on almost any map. Other than Lijiang, like in Lijiang, people still stuck with like tracers, but outside of Lijiang, it was double McCree on a lot of different maps. If not double, at least one McCree per team. And there were points where there were 5 McCrees running around on the field.
Can we just pretend that the 5 tracer one Lucio never happened so I can stop having nightmares?
We have to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Team Liquid opened up, was it Lijiang Tower?
That was GFE first.
Oh, was it Gale Force?
I think we saw both Gale Force and Team Liquid pull the strategy out at different times.
5 tracers.
And actually, it kind of like Team Liquid playing it against Cloud9, they forced a response. Like Cloud9 couldn't stick with their 2 McCree, their 2-2-2, 2 McCree, 2 Winston, 2 Lucio strategy. They had to actually change up because even though the McCrees were able to get like single flashbang kills on tracers zipping around them, there would always be another tracer or two to just stay mobile, stay out of harm's way, and then get the kill. So they actually
the most satisfying thing I've ever heard watching Sureforce POV on that map where Liquid played the 5 tracer, 1 Lucio, and you could just hear the headshot dink of the tracer going down.
Dink, dink,
dink, dink, dink. I'm like, yes, this is happening. They're dead. Don't come back now.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of other notable kind of shifts, we saw more Symmetra this time than we've seen recently. Like we've seen so little Symmetra in the last couple tournaments, and it's not a ton of Symmetra this time either, but we did see Symmetra coming into play on a number of points, obviously always on defense, but the teleporter really made a big difference. And actually, I saw in the grand finals, we saw the most ridiculous teleporter play I have ever seen in my entire history of playing and casting Overwatch. Basically, Vanafil put a Symmetra teleporter down right in front of Surfor, who had his Genji Dragon Blade out, was slashing Vanafil. He puts the teleporter down, and I think, like, I hate to say it, but I think there might have been like a netcode bug or something, because he slashed at the teleporter and it didn't connect. And suddenly, the entirety of Team Liquid popped out, even though I thought there was a 0% chance that that teleporter wasn't going to go down immediately. But that actually allowed Team Liquid to hold on to point A, the first capture point on King's Row, and they ended up full holding Cloud9 in that map while Cloud9 was trying to attack. They full held them on King's Row, which that basically never happens. When even with 2 equally skilled teams, that never happened. And then we had just watched Cloud9 smash Team Liquid. So for me, that was almost the moment of the tournament. Because it allowed Team Liquid to full hold on defense, and then they actually won on attack as well. So they had a 2-0 victory on King's Row, why
I was so mad that they got a 2-0 start in that series, because
that's what I mean. It would have been so close. Like if it would have reset, it would have been amazing if they had to, win 2 sets or something.
I think Symmetra, we'll talk about it a lot, and I'll probably have to echo Too Good on his sentiment here as well. Symmetra's a bit outdated still on some of these points, right? You get less shield, first of all. Right? 25 shield, not nearly as much as it used to be, and it makes a huge difference. And now, when you see these compositions that are geared towards getting in your face, a great example is what we see in Europe. There's always a Lucio speed boost, right? And normally, teams, if you're going to take Symmetra, you either don't have a Mercy or you don't have a Lucio, right? I feel like at the moment, at least what we saw, is that they're both essential, because as a defending team, if you're defending the first point on King's Row, for example, you want to engage. You actually want to engage on the enemy team before they set up and use their Lucio speed boost. You want to wait until they're coming around the back of the statue, and they're still a little bit split because maybe the Reinhardt and a McCree's a bit more forward of the rest of the team. And they're the best times to attack on defense. So we saw a lot of teams up against top teams that knew how to fight, or had a Genji or something like that, in lieu of either a Mercy or a Lucio, got smashed. I think it can work, but it just didn't this weekend in Europe at all. Melty were the team who did that. Used to be bored playing it all the time, and then Kabal was doing it as well. And then when teams were holding, when they had Junkrat, Mercy, maybe Symmetra. So they had a res and a TP. In a few cases, we actually saw that Symmetra TPs they'd full hold and she'd never need to use all their charges because the Mercy was always charging a roll off a right hard or a Junkrat. So it was almost like win more or just too much of a muchness.
That's a good point.
Did Sure4 end up mentioning anything after the game about that to you, Ben? Or was it just kind of like you thought maybe...
It did look kind of weird. No. It did look weird. I mean,
he slashed at the teleporter twice.
Yeah.
And neither of them connected.
Yeah.
Which maybe Team Liquid...
Was it like a range thing? Like maybe he wasn't close?
It looked like they were in range. I don't know. Maybe the teleporter's invulnerable for the first split second.
I think maybe
sure.
when it's blossoming or whatever and coming up, I think it was invulnerable during that time because I remember the Dragon Blade too.
It was still hilarious just to see Team Liquid just pile.
Oh, it was huge. I just remember even Ben even casting that. Like that was that was unbelievable to watch that. Definitely, if not one of the plays, or if not the play of the whole tournament. That was pretty amazing. That Diva thing sounds really awesome.
Most unique thing. Oh yeah, those are easily the number two
that
for me.
But that's pretty awesome too.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, definitely great.
And the only other thing that really stands out to me is it was kind of like the resurgence of Reaper as well. I'm actually curious. Did you see any Reaper at all in TakeTV or in the TakeOver?
Occasionally, yeah. The problem is, right, I think at the moment what's maybe more popular to counter out double Winston is a Bastion. If they then bring a Genji to counter the Bastion, then you might bring the Reaper, right? But we don't always get that far down the chain sometimes of teams that are a little bit stubborn and won't actually make the changes. So we saw it a couple times. Route 66, the last point, because it obviously opens up and narrows a little bit. You can flank an enemy team who's trying to capture and maybe is blindsided by you, but few and far between. And only really on single points, never for a long duration.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because he fell off so quickly, so hard. I feel like he might be one of the less played, or probably by far the least played DPS character over the last couple tournaments that we've seen. But we actually saw some great play out of guys like Harblu. Harblu's Reaper looked really, really, really strong in a lot of cases, and it wasn't even just Harblu. We saw a couple different people, including Dummy, play Reaper to great effect. Wasn't played by Cloud9, obviously. Like they have a pretty standardized set of heroes that they typically go with. But that seems interesting to me, especially the ultimate. You kind of forget how powerful that ultimate can be if it's comboed with Zarya or comboed with Reinhardt. But yeah, I think it's pretty much the notable meta, the new meta things that we saw take place this weekend.
Okay, all right. MVP, you guys had that concept of MVP, and it ended up being like a Twitter vote. So in some ways, it's like a popularity contest. Yeah, let's have our MVP. All right, I guess.
Louis,
kind of thing.
Dummy is my MVP.
Louis?
Dummy, really?
Dummy is my MVP.
Who is your MVP, Ben?
I realized Louis. He played for Clutch. He was
Louis,
McCree player. Actually, he switched. He even played a little bit of Reaper now that I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Louis was godlike. Oh my god, Louis played so sick. And I'd never even heard of him before, and he was kind of one of the powerhouses of Clutch. So I wanted to give a special shout out to him. But I realized, I kind of wish we put Mesrar on the vote
for sure.
He had insane saves for Team Liquid.
Yeah, there were three guys on Team Liquid. I think Dummy was one of them, Zalms is one of them, and Mez. I mean, they played amazing. And I think Mez was just consistent throughout the entire thing. Dummy pretty close to that too. Zalms had amazing moments, like crazy game-winning moments, but a little bit quiet in the finals at times. But leading up to the finals, I think Zalms carrying hard for a while. But Team Liquid, I feel like somebody on Team Liquid should have won MVP, in my opinion.
There were so many moments where I was just yelling at my computer monitor, like I was so hyped and so excited. Dummy would get 3 kills with the McCree ult, and I'm just like, oh my god.
yeah. Not to say that Sure4 wasn't awesome. Sure4 is just solid as usual. And can we please stop talking about him hacking now? I mean, can we just put it to rest? This is a LAN. They won. He played well. Can we be done with it? Please?
Yeah,
please, community?
I mean, what everyone's going to jump to on Reddit and on Twitter and in stream chat is oh, you can hack on LAN, and yes, you can hack on LAN. It's just a lot harder, and we had admins pacing around pretty frequently. I'm not going to say unequivocally LAN proves that you're not a cheater, because that's just not true. But there's I don't know. There's really no point in like arguing about it at this point because like we saw him play so well on LAN, and the plays that we saw, like nothing looked really suspicious to me at all. And I don't know what else to say, guys. Like, it's not proof. It's going to be really hard to prove it if we can ever prove it.
I guess the point is like let's the whole hacking thing. Let's let other people figure it out. Blizzard in particular here. Let them figure out what's going on there, and let us just enjoy great play. Just take it what it is. Like, and don't stop being paranoid about being duped or anything like that. Just enjoy what it is, and every so often, maybe once in 100 or 1,000 times, we do get duped, and that happens. So what? We at least get to enjoy. We don't have to be paranoid about everybody that actually plays well, like leading up to that. And that's all I'm going to say, just in terms of just the community.
Yeah.
Let's just stop talking about that.
I mean, my closing comments would be: there's a lot of people that probably don't know how to do a lot of things that say you're cheating, but the reality is, it's like, first of all, Reddit. I mean, we'll get onto this, I'm sure, later on, but most of them aren't interested in esports or at a pro level. Most are sick of getting wrecked by Bastion every game they play because they don't know how to deal with it. So if we're talking about someone cheating, I'm going to ask the pros. I'm going to ask them what they think, and I did. And all the pros said, he plays weird, Taimu plays weird, but realistically, we don't think he's cheating. We honestly don't. It's reasonable that he can be this good. His tracking is exceptional, but this is a skill that you can learn. I'm sorry, like, I've seen all the clips. Trust me, I saw them before. A lot of people saw them, and we were like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But I don't care what my opinion is. I'm not a pro gamer in Overwatch. I'm not that good. I'm going to ask the pros and see what they have to say. No one at Take thought that Shore 4 was hacking. Realistically, they thought he has a weird play style, and that's all it is. So, and Blizzard's coding team will know if something is possible without outside input or not. So we can put this to rest. There's just no point. He's a land dragon. He's proven it. I don't even understand why this conversation's still happening, but sometimes you just can't put anything past the internet.
Exactly. Speaking of Reddit.
Reddit will be Reddit.
Yeah. Speaking of Reddit, let's talk about esports coverage on the subreddits. There was none.
What esports coverage?
There was none. I mean, okay, so first off, let's just start with something good first. All right, so the subreddit, Kiki could probably confirm, but I feel like it grew like 50,000 this weekend, or something crazy, 40 or 50,000, just from the standpoint of members or whatnot of the subreddit, our Overwatch subreddit. But come on, these are two of the biggest LAN events that we've had to date. And we get no coverage on Reddit. I mean, not even not even like the moderators putting any kind of sticky post or anything in the competitive or the normal one. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, that's just not right. Like, you can say that maybe esports isn't big enough in the community or whatnot for the casual folks to know about it, but it's kind of our responsibilities, I guess, as just the community, whether you're a Reddit moderator or whatnot, to like expose folks to the competitive side of Overwatch too, because it's part of the community too. And I just felt that was
problem with the subreddit right now is like it's just all play the game gifts. Like
you shouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
It makes sense. No, it's a new game.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I just wish that like I could go to the subreddit and find content that isn't someone's play of the game gift.
Well, there is stuff. I mean, there's just like
swamped though. Like it's just
the problem is like there are literally 10, 20, 30,000 people looking at the subreddit at any time. Right. And that the fact that these play the games, like these fun clips, they're so shareable, they're so upvotable that they get thousands of upvotes. Yeah. So even when a competitive post is made and it gets like, back in the day, like if a post on any of the major esports subreddits got just a couple of upvotes in the first 10, 15 minutes, it would get it on the front page. But you actually have to get like 100 upvotes on to get it onto the front page. You need like 100 upvotes in like the first 10 minutes to get it on the front page of our Overwatch. So it's actually almost impossible to even find these posts, even if you want to. Actually, well, I will give credit to our Overwatch subreddit moderators because the CSS is amazing on that subreddit.
It is.
And you can actually choose what type of posts you want to look at. So you could theoretically only filter for esports if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. But like, look, I'm not going to be salty about the main subreddit not jumping onto the esports bandwagon right away. I mean, it does make sense. I really wish that we saw some more traction there. But instead of being like salty about the subreddit not doing what we wanted or what we thought, I think the better thing to do is like us as a competitive community, we've got 250 people watching right now. If you are interested in supporting the esports scene, be proactive, be active on going to the subreddits, looking for these posts. When you know a tournament finals is happening, there's probably somebody who posted about it. You can go there, find the post, upvote it, make the post yourself. Talk about why you're excited about the matches. Post highlight clips. Did anyone else see that moment from Reaver just now, or that teleporter play? Post clips and highlights from these games too. I mean, if it's a play of the game clip from an esports tournament, then at least you're going to get the esports coverage out there a little bit more. So I would look to the competitive community itself to just be active, and we can't encourage any kind of vote brigading. Obviously, that's all against Reddit's rules. But just in general, post about this stuff, upvote posts you see about this stuff. It's really on us. We can make a difference when it comes to the exposure that esports gets.
Yeah, I mean, I weigh in on this as well, if I may, because first of all, a lot of people complain this is forced, right? Esports are so forced. You're not forced to watch. They're not forced to play. We're not forced to cast. Nothing is forced. No one's forcing anything. Get it in your head, okay? We're doing it because we want to do it. We're not trying to make money out of it. I personally have already a full-time job, so does Fishstix, so do many of us. I'm not like, I'm not forcing you to watch this, right? You can go wherever you like. But the fact is, Overwatch does not become esports until the community decides it. Not until we decide it, us, not until the casters, till the money makers, not when Blizzard decide it, it's when the community decides it. And that'll take some time. So justifiably right now, there's a huge divide between the Overwatch casual community, we'll call them, and the competitive community. This is because a lot of the marketing is heavily targeted at everyday people who want to play a great game. And it's a great game, right? And that's how you get to esports. You start off with a good game, and then you get the infrastructure. You have investments later on down the track, and you can guide people, I guess, into that channel. But right now, we just want it to be a great game. That's all we want. And that's good because a lot of people are enjoying playing the game. A lot of people are enjoying the Hanzo Walt onto 5 people in the point. A lot of people are enjoying it. It's fine. But I mean, the thing is like, it's going to take time to get them across because these people need to understand that there is a scene there. Marketing is important. Most of Blizzard's marketing has not been for esports yet. It's been for the game, and fair enough too.
I mean, I think both of your points are absolutely right. All I will say is that, at least from a request from the standpoint of the subreddit, because the subreddit is the community site. Let's not jump hoops or just kind of ignore that fact. Just sugarcoat or ignore that fact. The subreddits for all the esports communities are the community sites. And as a moderator, I'll just make a request that as an esports person, just add it. Like, this is an important thing in the top right corner that has a bunch of different things, whether it's guides
Kiki did
or stuff.
mention in chat just a few seconds ago that they're going to add a sidebar for our esports events.
Okay, that'd be great. That's all that's all I'm asking for. It's just that something.
Rant solved.
Yeah, exactly. So just a little bit of exposure because we want it to organically go. That's going to take longer than just having like a link that just exposes a little bit more people. There's a lot of friends that I know that are casual players that know nothing about it, and when I tell them about it, they're really interested in it. There's probably thousands of people in the similar boat. So, that's all I'm gonna say, bud.
Yeah, I mean, we had 45,000 viewers watching. I know a lot of those viewers are on the subreddit. I know totally. There were some amazing clips. Like, I just think it's a little bit of concerted effort from us, the enthusiasts, the fans, the community, the players, the casters. Like, if we all just try a little bit, I think it'll make a difference. And this will just happen naturally as well over time.
Absolutely. Well, I think, Shayed, you're going to have to get going soon, right? So we don't have any questions. We're not going to be able to get the questions this week, so definitely save your questions for next week. But why don't we wrap up? Mitch, amazing having you on, buddy. Like, very insightful with just a lot of the meta talk and just the overall scene. So had a great time. Hope you had a good time, too.
Pleasure to be here, man. I'm with all of you guys. It's
good
fun.
Any shout-outs you want to do before we take off?
Shout outs to JC Kaplan because I guess he was going to come on and I got the chance to do it instead. Shout outs to his massive nose, and shout out to all you guys watching as well who maybe saw me retweet something or saw that I was going to be here and maybe wanted to hear. Shout out to Drasayas because he's mad because he's thinks McCree is broken, and just everyone as well. Just like ChanManV said, if you want to see an esports scene grow, it's up to you guys, not us. So get behind it, get interested in it, and spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Shayed, shout-outs.
Shout-outs to my stream. I see a bunch of, my subs and stuff in chat during every show. I love you guys. And shout outs to the team, LG. Hopefully you guys will see us playing again soon. And we'll definitely be at the next LAN event because we should have been at this one, but we weren't.
I agree.
Yeah. Shout outs to Fishstix and ChanManV, and thank you, Mitch, for being here. I love doing the show with you guys every week. It's like my highlight of my week. So, yeah.
Fishstix, shout outs.
Thanks to everybody who tuned into the Agents Rising tournament this weekend, or regardless which tournaments you tuned into. Thanks for supporting the Overwatch competitive scene. I think 45,000 peak concurrent viewers for the first major LAN is really, really encouraging. I'm like slightly tempted to just put aside my work and like look at numbers for a bunch of esports games to just like try to compare where we are now to where other games were at the very, very beginning. Because I think that's great. I can't wait until we actually have cross-region LANs. Because once Europe and North America play against each other in person, can you even imagine the hype? Like, as soon as that happens, I think 100K easy. Because even for this tournament, we didn't have LG. We didn't have the number one most popular player in the entire game in Seagull playing in this tournament. We still hit 45K. Even if we had just that LG in this tournament, I think we could have done more. So I think easily 100K viewers is coming. And when we do have that European cross-region, European North American LAN, I hope we can cast together, Mitch. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Won't happen again, Ben. We're sorry.
I know. I understand. But yeah, just keep supporting the competitive scene. Do what I said, guys. Get on Reddit. Get active. If there's an online tournament going on and no one's posting about it, make a post. Why not? It doesn't hurt. Help us get the word out. It really does help everyone involved. So thanks everyone who's watching, and that's it. See you next time.
Yeah, I just want to again thank you three for doing the show.
Ben just closed the show.
You just closed the show.
No, wait,
Thanks everybody for
I sent you a link to the teleporter moment. I sent you a link to the teleporter moment.
Did
I don't know
you
if you can play
it?
that on stream.
Oh, you want me to do that real quick?
Skype.
Okay, actually, let's take a look at that real quick, and then we'll see if we can. Actually,
I'm too used to doing the throws.
I'm not used to actually. It's not prepped to actually show it, so we'll have to round it out. But anyways, thanks to the three of you guys, obviously, for doing the show today, and all of you guys for watching. I did want to do a quick shout out just to folks that listen to the audios. This show's or podcast is available on iTunes as well as Google Podcasts and Stitcher and a lot of the other aggregators. So big shout out to Tyrus Rex, Alex EP, and Victor Vector for leaving some ratings and reviews, because that's really important to help just the overview come up whenever you're searching for Overwatch podcasts. So take a look at that. And again, the audios will be available soon. The VODs for this show will be available probably about 30 minutes after the show. So you can check that out at youtube.com/ChanManV. And that's going to be it, guys. So for the overview this week, from Mitch, Leslie, Shayed, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.